I had never felt before. It was as though the heart of the house had shifted.
Donna Presley stands at the meditation garden at Graceland, staring at the place where her uncle rests. It's quiet now, too quiet in that way that feels wrong. Because this space, this sacred ground, was never supposed to be this still. It was supposed to be alive with memory, with grief, with the kind of privacy that only family understands. But that's not what it is anymore. She remembers the first time she visited Elvis's grave after the funeral. The earth was still fresh. The flowers were everywhere, suffocating in their beauty. And she stood there with her hand on the cold stone, whispering promises she thought would last forever. Promises that the family would protect this place, that they'd keep it sacred, that no matter what happened in the world outside those gates, this one corner of Graceland would belong to Elvis and to God. That promise is broken now, and Donna can feel it in her bones every time she comes here, because what she sees isn't a resting place anymore. It's a set, a photo opportunity, a checkpoint on a tour route where strangers shuffle past with their phones out, snapping pictures of a man's grave like it's just another attraction between the car collection and the gift shop. She's watched it happen slowly over decades. The changes came in small waves, renovations, improvements, updates, each one justified with careful words about preservation and honor. But Donna knows the difference between honoring someone and commodifying them. And what's happening here, what's been building for years, finally crossed a line she can't ignore anymore. Because there's been an update, a decision, something that reached her ears through whispers and legal documents instead of family conversation. And when she heard it, when she understood what they were planning to do with Elvis's tomb, something inside her shattered. This wasn't just about moving a plaque or updating landscaping. This was about fundamentally altering what Elvis's final resting place means. And the person driving that decision, the one who's had the power to shape and reshape Graceland according to her vision, Priscilla. Donna doesn't say that name with venom. She says it with exhaustion, because this isn't the first time. It's just the latest in a long line of choices that have turned Elvis's memory into something he would barely recognize. But this time it's his grave, the one thing that should have been untouchable. Elvis feared this. She remembers him saying it years before he died. They were sitting in the kitchen late one night, and he got quiet in that way he did when something heavy was on his mind. And he said, "Donnie, I don't want to end up like some circus act. When I'm gone, I just want peace, that's all. Just let me rest." She held onto those words like scripture, because she knew what he meant. He'd spent his entire life being watched, being grabbed at, being turned into something larger than human. And all he ever really wanted, was the promise that in death, at least, he'd be allowed to just be. Not the king, not the legend. Just Elvis Aaron Presley, returned to the God who gave him that voice. But peace doesn't generate revenue, and that's the uncomfortable truth that sits at the center of all of this. The meditation garden was supposed to be exactly what its name suggests, a place for meditation, for prayer, for quiet remembrance. Elvis's mother is buried there, his father, his grandmother. It was meant to be family. But somewhere along the way, family became secondary to access, privacy became secondary to profit, and the sacred became spectacle. Donna stands there now, and she can feel her uncle's absence in a way that goes beyond grief. It's deeper than that. It's the absence of his wishes, his dignity, his right to rest without being turned into a brand extension. And the worst part? The people making these decisions speak about it like they're doing him a favor, like opening his grave to more tour, like planning expansions and renovations and improvements to the burial site, like turning his final resting place into a more streamlined part of the Graceland experience. Like all of that is somehow honoring him. But Donna was there. She heard what he wanted, and this isn't it. She thinks about the conversations that should have happened but didn't. The family meetings where decisions about Elvis's grave should have included the people who loved him most. But those meetings never came. The decisions were made in boardrooms and legal offices by people who saw Graceland as an asset to manage rather than a home to protect. And Priscilla's voice was the loudest in those rooms. Her vision, her control, her version of what preserving Elvis's legacy means. But preserving isn't the same as protecting. And legacy isn't the same as love. Donna feels the weight of every silent year pressing down on her now. All the times she bit her tongue. All the times she told herself that maybe it wasn't her place to speak. All the times she chose peace over truth because she thought that's what Elvis would have wanted. But she was wrong. Because Elvis didn't want false peace built on lies and manipulation. He wanted real peace built on truth and respect. And the truth is this: they've taken everything else from him, his privacy, his story, his humanity. And now they're taking the one thing that should have been beyond their reach. His grave. Donna's voice doesn't shake when she says it out loud for the first time. They couldn't leave him alone in life, and now they can't leave him alone in death. And that reality, that cold, devastating reality, is what finally breaks her silence. Because if she doesn't speak now, if she doesn't stand up for the man who can't stand up for himself anymore, then what was the point of any of it? What was the point of family, of loyalty, of love, if it can't even protect a grave? The sacred promise is broken, and Donna Presley is done pretending it isn't. Elvis talked about death more than people realize. Not in a morbid way, he wasn't obsessed with it or haunted by it. But he thought about it, wondered about it. And in those quiet moments when the world wasn't screaming his name, he'd say things that Donna wishes more people had heard. She remembers one conversation in particular. It was late summer 1975. They were sitting on the back steps of Graceland watching fireflies, and Elvis got philosophical in that southern way where faith and fear mixed together into something honest. He said, "You know what scares me, Donnie? It's not dying. It's what they'll do with me after." She didn't understand it then. She was young and death felt distant, impossible. But she understands it now because everything he feared came true. Elvis didn't want Graceland to become what it is today. That's not speculation, that's fact. He loved that house, loved what it represented, but he never wanted it turned into a museum. He certainly never wanted his grave to become a tourist destination where strangers could stand and stare while a guide recites rehearsed lines about his final days. He wanted privacy, not just for himself but for his family. He'd say, "When I'm gone, let the family have the house back. Let them live there, really live there without all this noise." He imagined his daughter growing up in those rooms, his father sitting on the porch in peace, the people he loved most being able to breathe without cameras and crowds. But that's not what happened. Within years of his death, Graceland became an operation. The home became a historic site. The meditation garden, the place where he specifically said he wanted to rest quietly with his mother, became a focal point of the tour. People pay money to walk past his grave, to take photos, to stand where his family once knelt and wept. And every single part of that would have horrified him. Elvis Presley was many things, but he wasn't a monument. He was a man of faith who believed deeply in humility, in the idea that when your time comes, you return to dust like everyone else. He didn't want marble and grandeur and spectacle. He wanted simple. He wanted dignity. He wanted to be remembered as someone who tried to do right by God and by the people he loved. But simplicity doesn't sell. Dignity doesn't generate headlines, and that's where the problem started. Donna knows what the official story is. She's heard it repeated in interviews, in documentaries, in carefully worded statements from the estate. They say that opening Graceland was necessary to preserve it, that turning Elvis's burial site into part of the experience honors his memory, that everything they've done has been about keeping his legacy alive. But she also knows what Elvis actually said, and those two versions don't match. He told Vernon, his father, "Don't let them turn me into a circus." Vernon remembered that, held on to it, cried over it after Elvis was gone because he felt powerless to stop what was already beginning. The machinery of celebrity doesn't stop just because someone dies. If anything, it accelerates. And Vernon watched helplessly as his son's name became a brand, his home became a business, and his grave became inventory. Donna saw that grief up close. She watched Vernon age a decade in a single year, watched him sit in that house surrounded by people making decisions he didn't fully understand. Legal terms, marketing strategies, preservation plans. None of it sounded like family. All of it sounded like exactly what Elvis had feared. And now, decades later, those fears have manifested in ways even Elvis couldn't have predicted. Because the disturbing update isn't just about maintenance or upkeep. It's about expansion, about making the burial site more accessible, more integrated into the Graceland brand experience. There are plans that Donna only learned about through legal channels, not family conversation, to alter the space in ways that prioritize visitor flow and commercial potential over the sanctity of what that ground actually is. A graveyard, not a museum exhibit, not a photo opportunity. A graveyard where real people are buried, people who loved each other, who shared blood and history and pain. But those considerations don't seem to matter when there's money to be made and a legacy to preserve. Priscilla speaks publicly about honoring Elvis, about making sure his memory endures for future generations. And on the surface, that sounds noble. It sounds like love. But Donna knows the difference between honoring someone's memory and exploiting it. And what's happening at Graceland, what's been happening for years, isn't honor. It's commerce dressed up in sentimental language. Elvis wanted rest. He wanted his family to be able to visit his grave without strangers watching. He wanted the meditation garden to stay what it was always meant to be, a private place where the people who knew him best could come and talk to him, pray for him, remember him without performance or pretense. But rest doesn't sell tickets. Privacy doesn't boost revenue. And in the equation that now governs Graceland, those wishes simply don't factor in. Donna thinks about what her grandmother used to say, "The dead can't defend themselves." That's why the living have to. That's why truth matters even more after someone's gone, because they can't correct the lies anymore. They can't stand up and say, "No, that's not what I wanted. That's not who I was." Elvis can't defend himself. His father can't. His mother can't. Lisa Marie can't. But Donna can. And when she looks at what's being planned for that sacred ground, when she reads the statements about enhancing the visitor experience and modernizing the memorial space, she hears Elvis's voice from that summer night in 1975. "What scares me is what they'll do with me after." He knew, somehow he knew. And now Donna has to live with the weight of watching his fears come true, while the people in power pretend they're doing him a favor. Elvis didn't want to be a monument, he wanted to rest. But rest doesn't sell tickets. Let's talk about something uncomfortable, something most people don't want to acknowledge when they visit Graceland, when they stand at Elvis's grave and feel that emotional pull, that connection to something larger than themselves. That grave generates revenue. Not in some abstract, indirect way, directly. The meditation garden is a featured stop on the Graceland tour. It's marketed, it's photographed, it's part of the package that brings in millions of dollars every single year. And every decision about that space, every renovation, every alteration, every improvement, is made with that economic reality in mind. Donna didn't want to believe it at first. She wanted to think that the people managing Graceland, the people who'd taken control after Vernon died, still saw it as a home first and a business second. But the numbers don't lie, and neither do the decisions. Graceland generates over $10 million annually in revenue. That's not counting merchandise, licensing deals, or the countless other ways Elvis's name gets monetized. And at the center of all that machinery, both literally and symbolically, is the burial site. Because that's what people come for. They don't just want to see where he lived. They want to see where he died, where he's buried, where they can stand close enough to feel like they've touched something eternal. And the people who control that access, they know exactly what they have. Priscilla Presley has legal and financial control over the estate. She has decision-making power that the rest of the family simply doesn't possess. And while she's spoken publicly about her role as a protector of Elvis's legacy, the reality is more complicated. Because protection in this context often means monetization. It means making choices that maximize commercial potential while framing them as acts of preservation. Donna isn't part of those conversations. Neither are most of the Presley family members who actually share Elvis's blood. The decisions about his grave, about the meditation garden, about how his final resting place is presented to the world, those decisions happen in boardrooms and legal offices, far away from the people who knew him as family rather than commodity. And that exclusion isn't accidental. Because when you're running a business, family can be complicated. Family asks questions. Family remembers what was actually said, what was actually promised. Family might push back against decisions that prioritize profit over principle. So it's easier, cleaner, more efficient to simply leave them out of the process entirely. Donna found out about the latest plans for the tomb the same way any outsider would, through legal filings and third-hand information. Nobody called her. Nobody asked her opinion. Nobody seemed to think that the niece who grew up in that house, who stood at that grave and made promises to her uncle, might have something valuable to contribute to the conversation. But that's how it works when legacy becomes intellectual property. The uncomfortable truth is this: Elvis's grave isn't just a memorial. It's an asset. It's part of the estate's portfolio, right alongside the mansion itself, the car collection, and every other piece of the Graceland experience that can be packaged and sold. And assets get managed according to business logic, not emotional logic. That's why the tomb can be altered. That's why visitor access can be expanded. That's why decisions that Elvis himself would have hated can be justified as necessary for preservation. Because preservation, in the language of estate management, means maintaining value. And value in this context is measured in dollars. Lisa Marie understood this. Before she died, she fought against some of these same impulses, the constant push to expand, to commercialize, to turn every square inch of Graceland into revenue-generating space. She knew what her father would have wanted, and she knew it wasn't this. But even she, Elvis's own daughter, couldn't fully stop the machinery. And when Lisa Marie died, that became another opportunity for spectacle. Her burial turned into a public event, covered by media, attended by celebrities, filmed and photographed and dissected by millions. And then, almost immediately, it became a legal battleground. Questions about where she'd be buried, who had the authority to make that decision, what her wishes actually were, all of it played out in public while the family grieved in the margins. Donna watched that happen with a familiar sense of horror, because she'd seen it before. The same pattern, the same dynamic, the same willingness to turn the most sacred family moments into content for public consumption. Death in the Presley universe doesn't bring closure. It brings controversy, and controversy inevitably brings attention, and attention brings money. That's the cycle. That's what Graceland has become. And the people who control it, the ones making decisions about Elvis's grave, about Lisa Marie's burial, about every aspect of how the Presley family's most intimate moments are presented to the world, they're not accountable to family. They're accountable to the bottom line. Priscilla will say she's honoring Elvis. She'll talk about preservation and legacy and making sure future generations can connect with his memory. And maybe she even believes that. But belief doesn't change the financial reality. It doesn't change the fact that every decision about that grave is filtered through calculations about visitor numbers, revenue projections, and brand management. Donna can't compete with that kind of power. She doesn't have lawyers and accountants and estate managers working on her behalf. She just has her voice, her memory, and her stubborn refusal to pretend that what's happening is anything other than what it is. Exploitation. Not the violent kind, not the obviously cruel kind, but exploitation nonetheless. The slow, steady conversion of a man's life and death into commercial opportunity, the transformation of sacred ground into a tourist stop, the reduction of family history into brand narrative. And the cruelest part? It's all done in Elvis's name. Every expansion, every alteration, every decision that prioritizes access over dignity, it's all justified as being for him, about him, in service of his memory. But Donna knows better, because she remembers what Elvis actually wanted, and it wasn't this. It was never this. When you turn a tomb into a tourist stop, you're not honoring the dead, you're selling them. And somebody's getting rich off that sale. There are 1,000 reasons Donna Presley could have stayed quiet. Family loyalty, fear of backlash, the exhaustion that comes from fighting battles you know you might not win. The very real possibility that speaking out would cost her relationships, reputation, maybe even access to the places where her own memories live. She weighed all of it, every consequence, every risk, every reason to just let it go and live her life in peace. But then she'd think about that grave, and peace became impossible. Because this isn't about business disputes or family drama or who gets credit for preserving Graceland. This is about something far more fundamental, far more sacred. This is about whether a man gets to rest with dignity, or whether even death becomes another opportunity for exploitation. And for Donna, that's not a negotiable question. She spent decades watching pieces of Elvis's humanity get stripped away. The stories got simplified, the complexity got erased, the real man got replaced by a carefully curated version designed for maximum commercial appeal. She watched it happen to his life story, to his relationships, to his struggles and his faith. She accepted it, reluctantly, because once someone's gone, you can't fully control how the world remembers them. But his grave, that was supposed to be different. That was supposed to be the one place where commerce stopped and sanctity began. Where family came before fans, where dignity mattered more than dollars, where Elvis could finally be left alone. And now they're taking even that. The plans for the meditation garden aren't subtle. They're not minor adjustments or routine maintenance. They're fundamental changes to how that space functions, how it's accessed, how it's integrated into the broader Graceland business model. And every single change prioritizes visitor experience over the reality that real people are buried there. People Donna loved. People who deserved better than to have their eternal rest managed by tourism consultants. When she first learned about it, she felt something break inside her. Not dramatically, there was no screaming or breaking down. Just a quiet, devastating certainty that if she didn't speak now, she'd regret it for the rest of her life. Because silence, she's learned, isn't neutrality. Silence is consent, and she can't consent to this. So she started talking, not to tabloids or gossip sites, but to anyone who would listen to the truth. She started challenging the decisions being made, demanding transparency, asking the questions nobody in power wanted to answer. Who approved this? Who was consulted? Whose vision of Elvis's legacy does this serve? And predictably, immediately, the backlash came. She was accused of jealousy, of trying to profit off Elvis's name, of stirring up division within the family. People who'd never met her, who knew nothing about her decades of quiet service to Elvis's memory, suddenly had opinions about her motives. The same tired accusations that get thrown at anyone who dares to challenge the official narrative. Bitter, opportunistic, disloyal. Donna expected it, doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Because what people don't understand is that speaking up cost her more than staying silent ever would have. It would have been easier to keep her mouth shut, to let the decisions happen without her input, to maintain whatever fragile piece still existed within the fractured Presley family. Easier, safer, simpler. But wrong. And Donna was raised to choose truth over ease. That's what her grandmother taught her. That's what Elvis himself lived by, even when it cost him. You don't abandon your principles because the fight gets hard. You don't let lies stand because correcting them is uncomfortable. This fight for Donna isn't political. It's not about control or money or fame. It's spiritual. It's about honoring the actual human being who lived and died and deserves to rest without being managed like corporate property. It's about the faith that shaped him, the humility he carried, the basic dignity that every person, no matter how famous, deserves in death. Elvis believed deeply in God. He believed in heaven, in judgment, in the idea that how you treat people matters eternally. And Donna believes that too, which means she believes there's accountability coming for the way his memory has been handled, for the way his grave has been commercialized, for the way family has been pushed aside in favor of profit. She's not the judge, God is, but she can be a witness. And right now, witnessing means speaking. People ask her all the time, why now, why can't you just let it go? And her answer is always the same. Because if not now, when? If not me, who? The people who could have fought this fight are gone. Vernon is gone. Gladys is gone. Lisa Marie is gone. The voices that should have been the loudest, the ones with the most authority and the most love, have been silenced by death. And the people who remain in power, the ones making decisions about Elvis's legacy, aren't accountable to those voices anymore. So Donna speaks for them, for her uncle who can't defend himself, for her grandmother who prayed over that grave with tears streaming down her face, for Vernon, who died heartbroken watching his son become a commodity, for Lisa Marie, who fought and lost and died still fighting. She speaks because they can't. And she'll keep speaking no matter what it costs her. Because this isn't about winning some public battle or changing minds in boardrooms. This is about standing on principle, about refusing to let the final erasure happen without someone saying, no, this is wrong, and I won't pretend it isn't. When Donna stands at Elvis's grave now, she doesn't just see marble and flowers. She sees a battlefield, the last place where the truth about who he was can either be preserved or lost forever. And she's decided which side of that battle she's on. She whispers to him sometimes when nobody's around, apologizes for not speaking sooner, promises to keep fighting even when it feels hopeless, tells him that she remembers who he really was, what he really wanted, and that she won't let that memory die just because it's inconvenient for the people in charge. And then she stands up, brushes off her knees, and keeps going. Because Donna Presley learned something in all these years of grief and betrayal and watching truth get twisted into mythology. She learned that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. A choice you make every day, especially when it's hard, especially when nobody's watching, especially when the cost is high and the outcome is uncertain. She chooses love, the uncomfortable kind, the kind that tells the truth even when it hurts. And that choice, that commitment, is why she can't stay silent about the tune. Because it's not just about Elvis anymore. It's about whether love means anything at all. The truth doesn't die, and neither does a promise. Donna made a promise at that grave decades ago, and she intends to keep it, no matter who stands in her way. This is just the beginning. The fight for Elvis's dignity isn't over, and the next chapter of the Presley family battle will expose even more than you imagined. If you believe that legends deserve dignity in death and that truth matters more than profit, you need to stay with us. Subscribe now. Hit that notification bell, because what's coming next will shake Graceland to its foundation and change everything you thought you knew about the king.